My name is Ava Miller, and I live in Austin, Texas, a city known for its music and art, though I've rarely felt like I belonged here. Growing up, my world was filled with contradictions. My mom, Claire, was my anchor. She was the kind of person who saw beauty in everything, who turned the ordinary into art. She encouraged me to draw, to paint, to dream. But when I was 15, she died in a car accident, and everything beautiful in my life seemed to vanish with her. My dad, Daniel, remarried less than a year later. Evelyn was polished and charming, the kind of woman who knew how to turn heads and win hearts. At first, I wanted to believe her kindness was real, but it didn't take long for the cracks to show. She didn't like my sketches cluttering the dining table or my paint-stained hands. "Ah, dear, you need to focus on real-life skills," she'd say, her smile sharper than her words. Evelyn came with a son, Owen, a walking, talking golden child. My dad doted on him like he'd been waiting for a son his whole life. They played golf together, went on fishing trips, and planned future business ventures over dinner. Meanwhile, I was left with Evelyn's endless list of chores. "You don't mind cleaning up a little, right, Ava?" Owen has more important things to focus on. By the time I turned 21, I felt like a ghost in my own home. My room was the only place that felt like mine, a small sanctuary where I could sketch, dream, and remember the mother who once believed in me. I clung to that space even as everything else around me fell apart. One evening, after a grueling shift at the diner where I worked weekends, I came home expecting to find some solace in my room. Instead, I opened the door and froze. My walls, once a soft, calming blue, were now an obnoxious beige. My drawings, pinned carefully in a corner, were gone. My desk was bare. Even my journals, years of memories and sketches, were nowhere to be found. Before I could fully process what had happened, Evelyn appeared in the doorway, her arms crossed and a smug smile on her face. "Oh, you're back," she said, as if she hadn't just obliterated my safe space. "I took the liberty of cleaning up your room. It was such a mess. Those old papers and doodles. I threw them out. You needed a fresh start." I couldn't breathe. "You what?" My voice cracked. "You're always turning this room into a dustbin," she said, brushing past me. "I've done you a favor." Something inside me snapped. All the years of being treated like I didn't matter, of being made to feel like a burden. It erupted. "How dare you?" I yelled, stepping closer. "You had no right to touch my things." Evelyn's smirk didn't falter. "Don't raise your voice at me, young lady. This is my house, and I decide what's best." I didn't think. I reacted. My hand flew out before I could stop it, slapping her across the face. The sound echoed in the hallway, and I immediately felt the weight of what I'd done. Evelyn staggered back, her hand on her cheek, more shocked than hurt. "You're out of control," she hissed, her voice trembling with fury. At that moment, my dad came storming in, his face red. "What's going on here?" "She hit me," Evelyn cried, tears welling up instantly. "All because I tried to help her. She threw out my things," I shouted, my voice breaking. But Dad didn't even look at me. "Ada, how could you?" he said, his voice low and angry. "Evelyn's been nothing but good to you, and this is how you repay her? You've always been jealous, haven't you? Always hated her and Owen." "Jealous?" I repeated, stunned. "Are you kidding me? She's—" "Enough," he roared. "Apologize or so help me." Evelyn cut him off, her voice trembling. "No, Daniel. I can't stay in a house where I'm disrespected like this. Either she goes or I do. There's no room here for someone who can't respect my little prince or me." I looked at my dad, hoping for even the smallest sign of support, but he avoided my eyes. "Ava," he said, his voice hard, "you need to leave. Now." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own father was choosing them, again. With my heart pounding and my world crumbling, I turned and walked out the door, leaving behind the house that had never felt like home. The 3 years that followed were the hardest and most transformative of my life. At first, I crashed on a friend's couch, surviving on minimum wage jobs and sheer determination. Every dollar I earned went toward building a future I could call my own. Slowly, I clawed my way up, enrolling in art classes, freelancing as a designer, and eventually landing a stable job at a small creative agency in downtown Austin. Art became my salvation. The pain, the anger, the betrayal, it all poured out onto canvas after canvas. My work grew raw and honest, and to my surprise, people noticed. I started selling pieces at local galleries, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was truly living. But even as I built this new life, the scars of my past lingered. Memories of Evelyn's sneers, Owen's smugness, and my father's betrayal haunted me. I told myself I was over it, that I didn't need them. Yet every time my phone buzzed with an unknown number, my heart raced, wondering if it was him. One evening, as I was preparing for my first solo art show, the past caught up with me. My phone rang, and I froze when I saw the name. Dad. For a moment, I debated ignoring it. But curiosity, or maybe some lingering thread of hope, got the better of me. I answered. Ava, his voice came through, shaky and unfamiliar. I need your help. My stomach clenched. What do you want, Dad? It's Evelyn and Owen, he said, his words tumbling out in a rush. They left me. Took everything. The house, the money, it's all gone. I made a mistake, Ava. I see that now. I should have protected you. Please, I need you. You're all I have left. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The man who had thrown me out, who had sided with his wife and stepson every single time, was now begging me for help. My heart raced, torn between the pain of the past and the strange satisfaction of hearing him admit his failure. But I wasn't that scared, desperate girl anymore. I'd fought too hard to reclaim my life, and I wasn't about to sacrifice it for someone who had discarded me like I was nothing. I'll think about it, I said, my voice calm and steady, though my hands were trembling. But I can't promise you anything. I hung up, feeling a storm brewing inside me. The choice was mine now, and for the first time in years, I felt the weight of my power. The night my father called again, I knew it was time to face him. He begged me to meet him at a small diner on the edge of town. Against my better judgment, or maybe because I needed closure, I agreed. When I walked in, he was already there, sitting in a corner booth with his head in his hands. He looked older, thinner, and more defeated than I'd ever seen him. Gone was the confident, commanding man who used to lecture me about respect and family. Ava, he said, standing up awkwardly as I approached. Thank you for coming. I didn't sit down immediately. I studied him for a moment, my emotions a whirlwind of anger, pity, and something close to indifference. Finally, I slid into the seat across from him. What do you want? I asked, keeping my voice cold. He hesitated, wringing his hands like a child caught in a lie. I need your help, he said. I've lost everything. Evelyn took the house, the money. Owen refuses to speak to me. I made mistakes, Ava. I see that now. I should have been there for you. I folded my arms, leaning back in the booth. Why now, Dad? Why do you suddenly care about me? Because you're alone? Because they used you the way you used me? He flinched at my words, his eyes filling with tears. I know I hurt you. I was wrong. But you're my daughter, Ava. I need you. Please forgive me. Forgive him? The sheer audacity of his request made me laugh, a bitter, hollow sound. Forgive you? I repeated. Do you even realize what you're asking for? You stood there and watched as she tore apart everything I loved. You called me jealous, selfish. You threw me out like I was nothing. And now, after they've bled you dry, you think you can just call me, and I'll come running. His voice cracked as he reached across the table. I was blind, Ava. I see that now. Please, I'm begging you. I don't know where else to turn. I pulled my hand away, shaking my head. No, you don't get to do this to me again. You made your choice, Dad. You chose her and Owen over me. I've built a life without you, and I'm not about to let you tear it down. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, I'm sorry. I stood, my heart pounding but my resolve unshaken. I hope you figure things out, but you'll have to do it without me. Don't call me again. I walked out of the diner, the weight of years of pain lifting with every step. For the first time in my life, I wasn't looking for his approval or love. I had my own, and that was enough. Walking out of that diner felt like stepping into a new chapter of my life. The night air was cool, and as I breathed it in, I felt a lightness I hadn't experienced in years. For so long, I had carried the weight of my father's rejection, Evelyn's cruelty, and the pain of being pushed aside. But now, that weight was gone. The next morning, I woke up in my small but cozy apartment, a place filled with things I had chosen, things that reflected me. My walls were covered in art, my shelves lined with sketchbooks, and my little rescue cat, Luna, curled up at the foot of my bed. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I spent the day preparing for my upcoming art show, something that still felt surreal. Who would have thought that the girl whose drawings were once thrown out like trash would one day have her work displayed in galleries? My journey hadn't been easy, but every setback, every moment of doubt, had fueled my determination to succeed. That evening, surrounded by friends who had become my chosen family, I toasted to new beginnings. They'd supported me through everything, encouraging me, believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. As I stood there, laughing and sharing stories, I realized something profound. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. My past no longer defined me. My father's choices, Evelyn's words, and the years of feeling unloved didn't have power over me anymore. I had built a life filled with love, creativity, and freedom. And as I looked around at the people who had stood by me, I knew one thing for certain. I had finally found my place in the world, and it was beautiful.